Bob, we get lots of questions about insurance. So, what do we want to cover today
You betcha. So we'll talk about the different aspects of travel insurance and we'll talk about the best way for travelers to buy it.
on Dream Travel Share Unpacked?
If you'd like to receive an email version of today's show, along with our weekly travel opportunities, click on the link below to join our mailing list. We promise to only send you one email a week every Friday. You can unsubscribe at any time, and we won't share your email address with anyone else.
You mentioned there are three aspects of the travel insurance. What are they?
Yeah, so before I say that, I should probably offer the disclaimer that you can imagine when it comes to insurance, there's a fair high degree of liability. So we are not offering insurance advice here. We're talking about stuff in general terms. So the lawyers tell me I have to say that. So there are, when you go looking for travel insurance, there are three aspects to it, or three legs of the stool, if you like. And we don't always consider all three of these. So it's important that all of these are on your radar. So the first one and the big one in terms of risk to you as the traveler is travel medical. And that's exactly what it sounds like. So the extreme example people use, if you have a heart attack in Europe and you need intensive care and all that stuff, just for the record, that rarely happens. Normally when you end up in a hospital in a foreign country, it's because you rolled your ankle. But either way, it's going to cost you some money if you don't have travel insurance. So if you watch a lot of Michael Moore movies, you may be led to believe that if you go to Europe or Canada, Australia, New Zealand, Japan, that healthcare is free in these countries. It is certainly not for visitors. You will pay dearly if you end up in a hospital in any of these countries. So that's the first one, and the big one is travel medical.
Okay, that was number one. What's number two?
Well, trip cancellation. So this is what happens so for example, if you're going on a cruise, you're quite often paying for your cruise 90 or 120 days ahead of time. If you are a Viking client, then a year ahead of time. If you roll that ankle or break a leg or are otherwise unable to travel the week before you're supposed to leave, you will forfeit 100% of the fare. So trip cancellation covers you against that.
Now, number three.
So this is trip interruption. This is the one we typically don't think about as much. So trip interruption insurance is if you have a catastrophic flight delay and you have to catch up with your ship, if your luggage goes missing or things go horribly wrong while you're en route, that's called trip interruption insurance. So the three of them together are bundled together when you buy your travel insurance. Again, if you buy it from the cruise line or most travel insurance policies, those are all bundled together.
What about this cancel for any reason? I keep hearing quite a bit about that.
Yeah. So cancel for any reason is exactly what it sounds like. And it's exceptionally hard to actually buy unless you buy it from the cruise line. So the caveat with cancel for any reason is that you're not getting a refund. So this is where you can cancel for any reason, but they're gonna issue you a future cruise credit. They're not giving you a refund. Trying to find cancel for any reason insurance outside of buying it from a cruise line is exceptionally difficult. I suppose it's possible, but I'm not aware of any.
So, what's your best advice about insurance to our clients?
Yeah, our best advice is, and other travel agents think I'm out of my mind. Our best advice is you go chat with a licensed insurance pro. So this might be somebody that does your home or your car insurance that you know locally, or this person can sit down with you. They have a license to sell you insurance and offer advice. They can take a look at what you might have on your credit card for coverage. They can take a look, certainly if you're former military or a first responder, you may have extended benefits that have some coverage outside of the country, but you may not. And so that's when you're going to want to get into the details with a licensed insurance pro. So of course, other travel agents say to us, "What are you nuts? You're leaving," because travel agents make a lot of money on travel insurance. So they say, "What are you nuts? You're leaving money on the table. You should sell them insurance." Honestly, Kim, we are people's travel pros. You want to talk about any aspect of travel, we are the people you want to come to. When it comes to insurance, you will be better served by going to speak with a licensed insurance professional. Our only advice to you is you have to have insurance anytime you leave the country. And this is something people don't think about. Lots of people live close to one of the borders, either the north border or the south border. If you're zipping into Canada or Mexico for the day, you should still have travel insurance.
Absolutely. We have quite a few clients that do 3, 4 trips a year. Can you talk to us or speak about the benefits of having a yearly travel insurance plan?
Yeah. Okay. So, yeah, annual travel insurance. So Sue and I have one of these. So because we're out of the
Of
country an awful
course you
lot,
do.
as are you. I'm sure you've probably got one too. So
Yeah.
the thing to keep in mind on this is that most annual travel insurance policies will cover you on that one leg of the stool. So the one I was talking about, where the travel medical, the big one, this is the big one, the highest risk, and so you can buy a policy for the year that in many cases will be the same price or maybe even cheaper than buying a 2-week policy. So it's certainly worth looking at. The thing to keep in mind is that it's not going to cover your cancellation, and it's not going to cover trip interruption necessarily. So you need, again, this is why you need to talk to an insurance pro, because you can insure a trip. Again, you can unbundle those three things. So as I talked about, there's three legs of the stool. If you've got a travel insurance, an annual travel medical policy, again, like Sue and I, so I don't need to buy travel medical insurance every time I leave the country, because I do that a fair bit. What I do need to do is I need to go and insure the trip for cancellation. So if I'm paying for a trip, I want to make sure I've got cancellation insurance. A licensed insurance pro can unbundle that for you and just sell you the insurance that you need.
Okay. Another question, it might be, I think it's obvious to you and I, but we do have some clients that struggle with this. If our clients are buying a cruise and they have purchased the insurance and it's only 2 weeks after and they have to cancel, what would they be responsible for?
Yeah, there's a travel. So again, this is where the devil's in the details, right? So some travel insurance policies, if you cancel them within 2 or sometimes 3 weeks, you're going to get 100% of your money back. So, but that depends on the policy. That's a great question for people to ask. If it's longer than that, so most often what we see happen is that people will book a trip, they will buy their travel insurance upon booking, because usually that means they can get pre-existing conditions covered if they buy their travel insurance policy when they place their deposit. And then 6 months later, they want to cancel the trip. Then you're going to eat the insurance, because travel insurance, once purchased, is not refundable. Often we can change it. So again, the devil is in the details. It depends on who it's bought from and all this other stuff. But if you change your trip, so let's say you had to change the dates of your trip, you want to go a month later than you originally planned or something like that. Generally, it's portable. Generally, you can pick up your travel insurance and apply it to a different date. But if you just cancel altogether, you're going to eat the insurance.
Okay. And I have one last question of you. You had mentioned the pre-existing conditions.
Yeah.
In a nutshell, can you explain what pre-existing conditions are?
Yeah, that's a tricky one. And so this is again where you want to go talk to, because I know the feedback from this will be, well, is this a pre-existing condition? The answer is I don't know.
Okay.
We've all got, any of us that are over 50 years old have probably got pre-existing conditions. So if you take statins, which are for cholesterol or high blood pressure, for example, is that a pre-existing condition? Well, for some travel medical policies, it would be. So the sort of test I think that people want to think about is that, so insurance is intended to cover you for things that were not foreseeable. Right? So it's not well, if I change my mind and don't want to go, I'm going to buy that's not the way it works, unless, again, the cancel for any reason stuff we were talking about earlier. But this is where you're going to have a fairly detailed discussion with a licensed insurance pro on what travel medical conditions do you bring to the table, and would those be considered pre-existing conditions, and can I be insured for those or not?
Okay. And it's a lot of the cruise lines, if there is pre-existing and our clients want to buy the cruise line insurance, that has to be done at time of deposit.
Right.
Okay.
Yeah. So every cruise line is a little bit different. So yeah, we will, when we are quoting people, so I should mention that too. Every time we quote a cruise or a package land vacation, we offer 2 quotes for insurance. One will come from the provider, the cruise line or the land tour company. The other will be an independent quote. So we'll get you 2 quotes. Our best advice still is for you to go get your own quote from a person who you can sit across the table from and can discuss your personal circumstances. That's where you're going to get the best advice and the best service, probably the best price. So it's quite likely that person can get you a better price than we can get you too. So that's our best advice, is go talk to a pro.
Can you tell me about people that go to Alaska, say out of Seattle? Do they need round trip insurance?
Well, do they need travel insurance? Yeah, you do. And we get that question a lot because what happens is folks think, so most Alaskan cruises go between Vancouver and Anchorage, or they go again because Vancouver is a foreign port. But there are some that go round trip out of Seattle to Alaska, and people say, "Well, wait a sec, I'm arriving or I'm departing and I'm coming back to the United States. I'm visiting the United States. Do I need travel insurance?" Okay, well, first of all of those cruises that go round trip out of Seattle are required to have one foreign port. It's usually Victoria, British Columbia. But you're going to stop somewhere in Canada on your way anyway, which is the same reason you need a passport for those cruises as well. The other thing to keep in mind is that you are in Canadian waters for half that voyage. On a 7-night voyage, you'll be in Canadian waters even if you're not stopping for half the time. If you needed to be medically evacuated, you could end up in a Canadian hospital. Or likewise, if you ended up with something that happens, in one of the small towns in Alaska, and if you needed a bigger medical facility, that could be in Canada. So yeah, you need travel insurance if you go round trip out of Seattle to Alaska.
That happened to us. On our Alaskan cruise, we had somebody that had to be airlifted, and the closest hospital was Victoria.
Yep.
Yeah.
It happens.
Well, thank you for all that info. I think the summary is make sure you are chatting with a professional.
Yeah, can't underscore that strongly enough. You are going to get better advice and probably a better price if you go speak with a licensed insurance pro.
What is happening next week, Bob?
Next week, Kim, we're going to be talking about luggage.
Oh.
Yeah, and not whether you should buy Samsonite or American Tourister. This is about how you pack for your trips.
I look forward to that on DREAM-TRAVEL-SHARE
We'll see you then.
Okay, bye for now.
See ya.
If you enjoyed this video blog, it really helps us when you like, or better yet, subscribe to our channel so that we know the best content to produce for you. If you want to book a cruise or package land vacation, then we'd love to help you out. We know the products and destinations very well, and we can always get you something not available on direct bookings. Our coordinates are in the notes below. Also, if you haven't signed up for our newsletter yet, you get one email a week every Friday with some commentary and some different deals that we're seeing in the marketplace. We don't share your information with anyone else, and if you decide it's not for you, then we're sorry to see you go, but there's an unsubscribe button at the bottom of every email. See you next time.